Okay. Good morning, everyone. So, welcome to our monthly meeting. We decided to do this monthly, just because we don't want to do it too much and we don't want to do it too little. So, monthly should be good. Before we start, we got one quick announcement. If you saw the email announcement yesterday, you might notice that Dr. Keith and I have put out another book. And oops, that's not it. That's Saint Raphael we were talking about before the meeting. So let me get this out of the way and I'll show you. I had it on my screen. New book called Fat on our website. And it's two fat cells talking to each other, teaching you about the importance of fat in the body. So we had a lot of fun doing that one. It should be on Amazon any day now. I'm waiting for them to approve it, but you can get the digital copy if you want it to on our website. So in case you're interested in that, so I'm going to stop sharing. Just wanted to shout out to that, and all of our books and stuff. We're continuing to make new content as fast as we can, um, to help everybody and in many different directions. So it's Dr. Wallace's fault. He calls me every morning, completely vata imbalanced, and just hits us with ideas, and the two of us spin each other up, and then a new idea comes out, a new thing is born. So yeah, so enjoy that if you decide to get it. But anyway, and then I'm always welcome to ideas of things that you think you need. We're trying to do that. So Jean Irwin, Clarissa Lee, who is in this group today, is interested in joining the Florida gang. She's
And
located.
and Jean's in Vero Beach too, Clarissa,
Yep.
so we could all get together sometime. Yeah, we
Yep.
got
So that's your contact, Clarissa Jean Irwin. So if you two want to chat with each other, private chat, and share your contact information, Clarissa would like to be included in your Florida meetings. Anyway, well, with that, I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Wallace so he can introduce Trisha. And there's only a few of us, so we have it in gallery view. I'll spotlight you, Trisha, when you go to present. But in the meantime, if everybody's okay with gallery view, I'm going to leave it that way. So Dr. Wallace?
So Trisha's one of our graduates, an amazing human being. I have so much fun talking to her all the time. She's been incredibly supportive of our program. She writes wonderful articles. She's really innovative, really trying to be a great pioneer in Ayurveda. And now I'll give her a formal introduction. Dr. Trisha Swift is the CEO of Mulla Integrative Health and Wellness, a pioneering organization dedicated to rejuvenation, root cause medicine, and disease prevention through whole health care and integrative Ayurveda. As a former healthcare executive and trusted advisor to Fortune 500 companies, she has led clinical transformation, technology innovation, and whole person care initiatives at the highest level, including working with the Health and Human Services in Washington, D.C. As a thought leader and contributor to Forbes and Harvard Business Review, she bridges modern science with ancient wisdom of Ayurveda to redefine health, enhance professional performance, and enhance longevity. Rooted in consciousness-based healing, Mula offers immersive retreats, Ayurveda rejuvenation therapies, and corporate wellness programs designed to restore balance and avoid burnout and illness. Dr. Swift's work empowers individuals to heal at the root level, integrating mind, body, and consciousness for sustainable well-being. Dr. Swift earned her doctorate in nursing practice and master's in nursing from University of Iowa. She is a proud graduate of MIU's MS AVIM program, AVIM program, we're about to change the name, class of 2023, and earned her bachelor's of nursing from Mount Mercy University. She lives in Fort Worth, Texas, but still considers herself an Iowan native at heart. What a great honor to introduce you. You are an amazing exponent of our knowledge and really wonderful to have you here, Trisha.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I'll try to tamp down my blushing a little bit here with that introduction. I'm really excited to speak with you all today and have a bit of a story to tell about Mula and what we are and how we came to be. I will begin with a bit of an orientation around where healthcare is in the United States, which strives to be a major force for us at MULA to inject sort of the reason why we're doing this and what opportunity lies in front of us. So let me get the sharing going. Okay. So Carol, I have this picture view on the side of my screen. Is that also showing?
Yes, we can see it. You're on
Okay.
the right and your slides are on the left, at least on my screen. Is anybody not able to see the screen? Can you type in the chat if you're not?
I don't see anything on the right, because I have my chat. I just see the one screen, one big slide.
Okay, perfect. So we'll run with that. So I first just want to thank MIU, Dr. Keith, Dr. Paul, Miss Carol, Maharishi Ji. I'm definitely not the owner or creator of this knowledge, but it was gifted to me, and I'm very, very grateful. And so I start there when I talk about this with deep humility and reverence and appreciation for Ayurvedic knowledge that I've received through my education. So with that being said, let's take a look at where we are at in healthcare today. So healthcare in America, from many perspectives, including my own, is at a breaking point. We have, this past year, a lot happened, a lot crossed our headlines, and we are talking about even more as we get new healthcare leaders in their seats with the current administration. So we've had, shocking murder of Brian Thompson, which was the United Healthcare's CEO. We had catastrophic data breaches through Change Healthcare, which Change Healthcare processes about half of our country's medical claims. We're dealing with an epidemic of chronic disease. Clinician burnout is at an all-time high, with at least 60% of doctors and nurses reporting chronic burnout, secondary to their role as being caregivers and healers. And we have staffing shortages. There's medical debt, about 220 billion plus currently of medical debt at the national level, and forcing many families to file bankruptcy due to the medical debt. So we're witnessing a system that's collapsing under its own weight, under its own pressure. It's fragmented, it's reactive, and it's failing to address the root causes of what's making us sick and what's creating these epidemics. So when you look at the solutions being proposed, we see a lot of pharmaceuticals, venture capital, private equity, technology, policies, and from my perspective, and I think most of us would probably agree, I don't think that's the answer. I don't think the answer is more. We have to approach this in a different way, a way that is guided by total knowledge and natural law. So now more than ever, here's the silver lining. We need a healthcare system that prioritizes prevention, resilience, and true healing. And that's where Ayurveda comes in. Ayurveda and consciousness-based medicine offer precisely that. It offers a pathway to restore balance. It offers a care model that addresses the mind-body connection, and it empowers individuals to reclaim their health and put it back into their hands through their diet and their lifestyle and their way of living. So the future of healthcare, from my point of view, should integrate this ancient wisdom of Ayurveda and integrate that with modern science so that we can transition away from treating symptoms and really start addressing the root cause that's underpinning the suffering of individuals in our country. And so the good news with all of this sort of depressing opening is that we have an incredible opportunity in front of us to do something now. And we have tools, we have support, we have community and resources to make this happen. And what I'll say as I move forward is if you have questions, comments, go ahead and drop those in the chat. We'll try to address those at the end or as we move along, but definitely don't want this to be me talking to you. I'm open to dialogue and discussion as we go. So what is the opportunity? It's pretty significant. So the opportunity is to transition from sick care to whole health care. And so I just described some just current events from the last 12 months. That's all the timeline I needed to look back to complete a few slides on where we're at. But we're in a dire situation. Our healthcare system, the sick care system, whatever you call it, is being hijacked. It's being hijacked by investors and private equity. In many ways, pharmaceuticals in earnest to treat diseases and the symptoms of those diseases versus preventing them and getting to the root causes of those diseases. If you look at it from a business perspective, all businesses seek to create lifelong loyal customers. When you're in the business of treating sick people, in order to be a lifelong loyal customer, you need to be sick in order to meet that definition. So it's just an important context to keep in mind. We have issues with the food system, with drug dependency, chronic diseases. The way that we look at the definition of health as being the absence of disease, that is not the operating definition that our healthcare system is functioning under. The absence of disease is not the definition of health in conventional healthcare. Well-controlled, managed diseases might be in that definition, and that is contributing to the affordability crisis that we have in healthcare. So how big is that crisis? The latest numbers say that we spent $4.1 trillion on healthcare. The growth of that spending is projected somewhere between 8 and 12%, depending on the source that you look at. So healthy businesses grow, right? They expand, they grow, they diversify, and that, this business sector is not excluded from that. But the kicker is that of that $4.1 trillion, 90% of that is spent on treating preventable chronic diseases. So only 10% left over to do anything else. So we're spending almost the entire component of our healthcare on treating diseases that we know are reversible or preventable in the first place, like diabetes and heart disease. It's also contributing to our increase in, I guess our decrease in longevity, which I'll talk about also. Mental health is on the top of the list as a contributing factor to the complexity of our healthcare system. Mind and body are connected. The presence of a mental health condition with chronic diseases are over 60%. So there's definitely a connection there. And we're all hearing about metabolic health with the emergence of new pharmaceuticals to help address metabolic health issues. And so that's going to continue to grow too. But the statistic there is we're approaching 50% obesity rate in this country. So we are definitely not controlling the obesity epidemic in both adults and children. So this is kind of where we're setting. There could be more data points to pull in here, but these are the ones that are top of mind. So, oops, let me see here. So, all right. So if we look at what the evolution of disease is, it's our lifestyle. We know this. So many people are sick. All the statistics are rising. Healthcare is rising in cost and rising in complexity. And so why is that so? If we look at the way that diseases evolve in the individual, it stems from the lifestyle, from the ability to identify imbalances early on before you have symptoms or biomarkers of disease, being able to activate your self-referral loop, your self-referral mechanism, and all the things that we know to be true about digestion and diet. So chronic stress from a hectic lifestyle, we could say the American lifestyle, which leads to poor diet, Vishama Agni, right? So definitely compromised ability to metabolize and throw off the waste products in the body, nervous system overload, all of these things. This is where it starts, and it just advances from there. We know that the conventional healthcare system starts addressing the cycle of disease at stage 4, most often stage 5 when disease is present, but sometimes stage 4. We know in Ayurveda that there are stages of disease that precede that. And that's when you want to intervene. So if you look at how chronic stress can lead to, across time, can lead to these diseases that we're seeing, and the root causes sort of anchor themselves into lifestyle and consciousness, you can really see where Ayurveda can fit in to address the modern day issues that we're seeing in as a contributing factor to the affordability crisis and the chronic disease epidemic. So shifting slightly, chronic diseases lead to shorter health span, shorter lifespan, right? And so the misnomer is that aging is that getting diseases are a part of getting old, and feeling sick is just a part of aging, and that's not true. What we're looking at here is an effort through modern science and technology to improve the lifespan, to extend our years. And while we've made some strides in that, what we're not seeing is health span improving. So we're able to essentially prolong the suffering for longer, create more years for individuals to be customers of a sick care system. And that's what we're dealing with here. We're not seeing the health span improving despite our lifespan trajectory improving, despite the amount of money that we're spending on healthcare, despite the amount of innovation and investment going into the American healthcare system, our healthcare is not improving. So if we look at what those numbers look like, this is a snapshot of what life expectancy does look like. So we, in the United States, we rank 53rd in the world, but we spend the most by far on healthcare per capita. So the alignment there, that the value of where the investments are going is not being manifested by better health. That is definitely a reality. You can see other comparable countries to the United States and where they set. Ironically, the country on this list with the greatest life expectancy just also happens to be the one that spends the least. So take that with a grain of salt, and you can kind of compare some of the blue zone type themes around lifestyle and diet and the way in which individuals live in these countries. So what does health span look like in America? These are some startling statistics. Also, I just throw them out here because they were shocking to me, frankly, on the amount of medications that folks are taking and the chronic disease epidemic. So if you look at folks over the age of 65, these individuals, by and large, are not dealing with just one disease. It's more than one, it's 3 or more. And over 60% of folks over 65 have 3 or more chronic diseases. And that results in 90% of adults over the age of 65 taking at least one medication, and 40% take 10 or more. So there's a lot going on here. We're treating diseases with the meds and with disease management, but we're also chasing symptoms. So once you start getting these diseases, they have a compounding effect. Once you begin becoming dependent on pharmaceuticals, that also becomes a bit of a tail chasing exercise. Even beyond that, when you look at independence of those 65 and older, so these are folks that have stepped out of the workforce from the majority and are wanting to enter into a different phase of life where they're enjoying their retirement. And the reality is many of them are not. the strength, the bala, the activity level, the ability to do basic things like bathing, dressing, and eating. About a third of folks require assistance with that. So health span is definitely not intact. Costs are rising. I've put some other sort of cost statistics down at the bottom of the screen. But this is what it looks like when you spread that out. If you look at the average health span, and we've been able to extend that some, but not improve the actual health, you're just living longer with a bunch of diseases and expenses and medication regimens. And really what we want to transition to is more of a lifestyle that extends the health span of individuals in tandem with lifespan, and doing so through deploying strategic protocols. We'll call them, in quotation, strategic protocols. To me, that is Ayurvedic medicine. But really taking in a preventative mindset, a consciousness-based medicine approach, so that the end of life is enjoyed to the fullest, and we don't associate disease with age. We sort of redefine what that means. So I'll take a pause quick if there's any questions or comments on that front half of the material. I'm going to pivot and talk to you more about Mula. But Carol, is there anything to take a pause on right now?
Nobody has put any questions in the chat, but I want to add, your message is really hitting home with me. Tomorrow, my mother will turn 92 years of age. And she definitely fits exactly what you're describing here. She's got, because of a Vata imbalance that's been going on for years, she's got less and less mobility. She does require around the clock nursing care with her, or not nurses, but a home health care aide at this point. So they've extended her life by what they're doing, but the quality of life just isn't there. She's asked for a new body for her birthday tomorrow. And we're teasing
Oh,
her, asking her which sex she would like it to be, but she's still very cognitive. Her cognitive skills are still there. It's the body that's wearing out. So anyway, yeah, I just
yeah.
yeah, the message is
Mm.
so loud, so clear,
Yeah.
and how much of what we do as an Ayurvedic practitioner is needed in this world to reverse what's happening to everyone, to all of us. So
Mm.
anyway,
Well said.
yeah, so
Now,
I'll let you go back now to talk. And anybody
yeah.
with any questions, please put them in the chat. It's excellent so far, Trisha. Thank you.
Great, great. Okay. Well, if aren't any other comments at this point, I'll transition and talk to you about mula, which is where my passion is these days. So mula is a Sanskrit word. It means root, foundation, or base, depending on the context you're using it in. Sometimes in traditional households, this word literally means a vegetable, a root vegetable, but it's about root. It's about getting to the root of what is making us sick and nourishing that root so that what manifests from that root is beautiful and healthy, and vibrant. So we are rooted in Ayurveda, but we are optimized by modern medicine. So our purpose is big, and we want to change the world, and we'll see how far we can do that. But this is why we exist. We want to bring balance. We want to elevate the importance of consciousness and the consciousness role in health. We want to help people understand they can be disease-free by addressing their well-being and identifying sources of imbalance. You can be happy. Being happy is an inside job. So being happy comes from within, and being healthy is a predicate to being happy. And we can do this without drugs. There may be instances, and a lot of our clients, they need their medications, and we're not advocating to take risks with your health. And if you need medications, then you need them. But we are here to say that there could be ways to get off of your medications or avoid the need for them. And we're here to help you understand what that looks like. So when you talk about Ayurvedic medicine, the sacred knowledge of Ayurveda that comes from the Vedic literature, it's highly revered, it's very sacred, and it should be treated as such. And so when you talk about going into business with this philosophy being the thing that underpins your purpose, there's a bit of a balance to strike in order to put yourself out there in a relevant way, to be a competitor to the health and wellness options that are out in the market, and to do that while preserving your purpose and not get sort of sucked in to the mindsets of more and profit generation. So the way that we like to describe it at Mula is we are purpose driven, but we are commercially motivated. We want to pay our bills with what we're doing. We don't want this to be a side job. We want this to be our primary profession. We want to be successful. We want to be relevant, credentialed, and considered as an option among the sea of all other options that may not be Ayurvedic based. So I put this on the screen to let the audience know that our mission at Mula is purpose-driven and commercially motivated, as the slide says. It's rooted in the sacred knowledge of Ayurveda, but we recognize the necessity of having relevance in a capitalistic society. So this is how we've struck the balance with that. We don't wish to commoditize Ayurveda. It's been asked of us. It's not what we're trying to do. We're commercializing the benefits that Ayurveda can bring. We're creating meaning around what it can bring. We're creating accessibility, and we want to create scalability. We want to make this more accessible and more mainstream, really. So we're positioning Ayurveda as a powerful tool for disease prevention, for longevity, for whole person well-being. We want to bridge the gap using this ancient wisdom and parlaying it on contemporary healthcare principles. So we also want to ensure that the message of Ayurveda and Vedic science is not lost in obscurity, but it's embraced as a vital force for the transformation that this sector of the business needs. And in the midst of being in the economy that currently prioritizes outcomes. So we want to achieve outcomes that are competitive and comparable. So the numbers on this slide just represent the market opportunity. Ayurveda, if you ask the business analysts, they put it in the wellness market today. That may change as the wellness market continues to become more refined and segmented. But today, Ayurvedic medicine is analyzed as a modality within the wellness market, and it's a huge market. It's $1.5 trillion market. Consumers spend out of pocket for wellness because traditionally it's not covered by insurance, and they spend a lot out of pocket. Folks that are wellness oriented are willing to spend out of pocket for these services, and they're doing that at a rate of over $30 billion. And the market is growing by 14%. I've even seen some statistics that have put it over 20. Huge market, it's growing, tons of interest. It's definitely a healthy place to insert an Ayurvedic business plan. So here's our story with Mula. I say the seed for Mula was planted before I knew it was planted. It kind of happened during the shutdown and the pandemic. I was a healthcare executive at that time in conventional healthcare, and was just really not doing well with the way that the COVID pandemic was approached, and how many lives it took, and how uncoordinated we were as a system. And I began to just really question what I was doing, what my role was, and how did it come to this? How are we so ill prepared, and how can this be that we have so much impact on this virus, and it's disrupting our whole lives? So really just me and many others, right? It was a point of inflection to really kind of question what I'm doing. And I decided to research other forms of medicine that were more prevention oriented, that I might be able to learn more about. And it was just as simple as that. I was just poking around. I already had a doctorate degree and I had no intentions of going back to school. Like I really, really didn't want to go back to school. But I went back to school after I found MIU and I learned how to meditate, and it was just the right thing for me to do. So between 2020 and 2023, I went and enrolled into the master's program and got my master's degree in Ayurveda and integrative medicine. And I never looked back. It felt so right. It was the missing component to what I was already bringing to the table. And I decided that this was the time and the space and the content for me to pivot upon. And I went with it. So went ahead and made some investment in some real estate out in Oklahoma, which is 3 hours from the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, which is where we are headquartered, with an idea of doing a retreat center. So this was an idea. Folks can get away. We can address the burnout issue. We can do a digital detox close to home, and kind of went in that direction. Opened the company shortly after that around the retreat concept. And lo and behold, the demand was so fantastic. We got such a great response and really began to realize there was more that could be done. Maybe the retreat could be a component of the business model. The demand was for folks to have a place to go regularly, to get health coaching, to get care planning, to receive services, to build a relationship so that they could work on their health, their longevity, and their happiness. So this year, it's very new. We were opening a clinic here in the Fort Worth, Dallas Metroplex. We're moving in as we speak, and we're going to be opening that in April. So now we sort of have this end-to-end business model where folks can engage with us in multiple ways. So that's a bit about the timeline and the story. It's all happened very fast. I'm looking at it on the slide, and it represents 5 years, but it feels like 5 months. It's happened very quickly. It has been an effortless process in the sense that everything that has happened naturally. I haven't had to force it. It's just sort of fallen in place. And for me, coming with, over 20 years of experience in corporate healthcare, when things happen that way, you just kind of know it's the right thing, because things don't fall into place very easily, usually. So this was a breath of fresh air, and I'm really excited about it. So our mission is to uncover the root causes of health issues before they escalate into illness or disease. So really hinging ourselves on a preventative care model. We strive to bring balance to personal and professional lives. So there's a reason professional lives is in there, because one of our primary customers are burnt out professionals. So this idea of work-life balance, we sort of acknowledge it's not really a balance because you're not two different people. It's about creating an integrated blend between your personal and professional life. And what can that look like? Through the principles of Ayurveda, it is possible. And when you do that, you sort of formulate this deeper understanding of yourself and what you need, but also those around you. So this is what motivates us. This is our mission. And now we'll get into a little bit of the fun stuff. So we have a model that we follow. We use this model to templatize our care planning. And when I say templatize, I mean these are the components that we guarantee will be part of your care plan, no matter what. You may have other components based on your needs, but we address these 8 things with everybody. So we look at lifestyle and environment. This is all, everything is integrative, right? So we're looking at the Ayurvedic sort of understanding of your near and far environment and your lifestyle, but we're also looking at more conventional aspects that tend to be considered when you're looking at someone's environment, like the social drivers of health, the social determinants of health, air quality, water quality, things like that. Food as medicine, I think that speaks for itself. Food as medicine is sort of a very foundational component of Ayurvedic medicine. but it's a huge movement right now in conventional healthcare. There's a lot of technology being invested around this concept. There's efforts being put forth to map the phytonutrient kingdom and then begin to use artificial intelligence to match phytonutrients to specific diseases and imbalances to really curate medically tailored diets. So this is definitely a component for us as well. Daily routine, this is where we start to inject more stress management principles, but also the Ayurvedic dinacharya concept is huge here. Most folks that are working corporate jobs don't have this concept at all. It's the alarm goes off, your feet hit the floor, and you're off running. So this is a lot of times where we start with folks, is just kind of taking a look at their routine. Social network is a bit more of a conventional medicine concept, although you do have your behavioral resigners that introduce socialization as being an important component of the human experience. There's a focus now with the mental health crisis that we're dealing with, a lot of folks being socially isolated or using social media as a proxy for authentic and genuine social relationships, and it isn't. And so it's causing a lot of dopamine imbalance. So we address that with folks, and that almost always leads into a spirituality discussion as well. And just we can talk about the role of spirituality, meditation, and just having a sense of your higher self or a higher being that's guiding non-physical aspects of health. So we don't discount this part. This is very personal and definitely an important component. The last two, we definitely use herbs with mula, spices, plants. We don't do any pharmaceuticals. We don't prescribe drugs, but we may recommend herbs, and we do so frequently. So we're definitely leveraging the intelligence of the plant kingdom. And then finally, brain health. So this one connects to a lot of the other components, but really looking at achieving brainwave coherence, understanding the role of the nervous system, all the nervous systems, the enteric nervous system, the gut-brain axis, and how the brain, helping the brain work better for you so your executive functioning is optimized. And the final component is rejuvenation. So we are offering rejuvenation services using Ayurvedic techniques to really help folks purify, detoxification diets and meal plans, purification plans, and rejuvenation services. We have that sort of as the last cog on our wheel because we don't start there and not everybody makes it there. So it's sort of the bottom of our funnel, but a really, really important part. So this is the Mula model. It represents holistic coordination of health and wellness to achieve mind-body balance and a disease-free life.
Can you pause on that, back on that slide for me for just 1 minute? I spoke to Trisha before this meeting and said one of the things that our graduates get stuck on is that they're sitting in non-healthcare freedom states, and they get stuck on the fact, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to use my degree. But if you look at this model that Mula is doing, I mean, there's only that one part that is actually herbal support. And there is a way to actually recommend herbs without recommending herbs. You just tell them that this is well used in Ayurveda, but please take this and go ask your doctor. Anyway, what I want to point out is that there's so many areas where we're needed as an Ayurveda practitioner. And if you think that you can't practice because you can't prescribe herbs, then you are just missing the boat. And maybe the degree isn't right for you if that's what you're thinking, because there's so much more that we can do. There's with the coaching part of it. And I've said before, one things I used to do with my clients is if they made an appointment, especially if they were coming to me for things like anxiety or lack of sleep, I would ask them to fill out just write down a food diary for the next 7 days. And when you come, bring me everything that you've eaten. Doesn't have to be, in detail. You can just put hamburger, you can put fries, you can put whatever's on there. Bring that to me because then I could talk to them about diet and I could also see where things were triggering what they were complaining about. Anyway, I just wanted to pause for that one moment so everybody can realize that there's so many, many, many things we can do as health coaches sitting in non-health freedom states. And after a while, you start working with physicians because they realize you're doing something that they can't do. They don't have the time to sit there and talk people into a better diet. but as a health coach, that's part of your job. And anyway, so you end up with doctors who are perfectly happy to coordinate care with you when you start building this reputation as being an educator. And that's where we try to stress that. And we're working more on it in the MAVM program as much as we can, to try and get this message to all of you who are in the program now or graduates of the program. Um, we're doing the best we can do. It's a lot that Dr. Wallace and I need to teach, and we're working on it as fast as we can. But anyway, thank you, Tricia, for letting me pause you on this one slide. Amazing points you're bringing out. So I'm totally enjoying your lecture.
Yeah, that was great. And that was a good ad on this one. You're so right. Keep in mind, most physicians are paid under contractual terms. Many of them are incentivized to achieve specific outcomes with their patients. But to Carol's point, few of them have time to spend to actually make sure that outcome is achieved. So it's 10 minutes, it's 15 minutes, it's a med, it's a prescription, go do this, come see us in another month. And then if we're wondering why the A1C is not improving or the weight is not reducing, if the inflammation's not going away, if dependency on medications is not getting better, this is where a Ayurvedic health coach can come in. You don't have to have a licensure to do this. It can be helpful in certain aspects, but it all comes down to defining your niche and what you're going to do. You don't have to do all of these things. You can zoom in on one aspect of it or a different aspect that's not on this slide and really make a lot of impact and partner with licensed clinicians, and do your thing and just have fun with it. So let's move forward and get more into this. So this is what we do. This is our services and our programs at the highest level. So we're doing whole health care for the whole you. We're taking care of the whole person. We're doing that through consultations, care planning. We have wellness programs around specific issues like weight loss or stress management. We also offer a membership plan. So you can enroll in our membership plan and get a whole host of benefits offered to you throughout the year. I mentioned rejuvenation earlier. We are offering some of this. This will be an area of growth for us. The goal of our rejuvenation is to promote purification and longevity. And we offer those in our clinic, or will, I guess, in April, but we also bring those into our retreat experience out in Oklahoma. Corporate wellness is a big component of our business model. We are working with organizations on executive well-being. The intent is to help them avoid burnout and health decline within that organization. And the byproducts that come out of those efforts are more innovation and happiness. So they stay there longer. They're more a loyal employee. They're happier at work. They're using less of their healthcare benefits because they're not sick as often, and they feel better about what they're doing. This is a huge issue right now. Burnout is another epidemic of its own, and we deal a lot with clinicians, finance executives, legal, academics, cybersecurity. So all of these industries where there's a high service component or there's a lot of pressure to perform, particularly in cybersecurity, we're seeing that. The burnout is just a natural component of that. And so we insert ourselves and really help folks balance what that looks like. And then I've already mentioned the retreats. So we do individual rejuvenation retreats, but we also host corporate leadership retreats where they bring in their leadership team. And we do a bit of facilitation, but also introduce Ayurvedic concepts around diet, lifestyle, and daily routine. We do that in Oklahoma as well. So that's a bit of a snapshot about our 4 pillars of service. So now this is the juicy stuff, I say. So our retreat center is called Treetop Hideaway. It's located in Southwest Oklahoma. These are pictures of that area. I've taken many of these pictures, so this is a real place. When folks ask, Oklahoma and mountains, what? Like, since when? Well, it's the oldest mountain range in the country. It's called the Wichita Mountains. It's the oldest mountain range in our country. So it is 5 million years old. And it's a lot of indigenous land, a lot of protected area. It's a beautiful place to unplug. It's 2 miles away from a wildlife refuge. So this elk, this boomer lizard, and this buffalo, these are pictures that I took on hikes. They roam free, and you can, you know, be with them and be with nature and just take a step away. So it's a beautiful place, and everyone always is just in such awe when we get folks to Oklahoma, which I was told was considered a flyover state, but there's a lot to see there. A little bit more about the retreat. So we have a small clinic on site, and then we have some boarding upstairs. And so when you come see us for rejuvenation, you do not have to leave. You do not have to cook, and you get the whole experience while you're there. We totally take care of you. So that's a little bit about that. And this is a picture of the building that we're going into in April here in Keller, Texas, which is a suburb of Fort Worth, Texas. So it's up here in the northern part of the huge state of Texas. Brand new building. We'll offer all of our rejuvenation services, our educational programs, and our grand opening is slated for April 3rd, and we couldn't be more excited about that. A little bit about what we're going to do in our new office space. Really complementary care for primary or specialty care. So we're complementary to. Folks ask us, are you primary care? Can you replace primary care? That's up to the patient. That's not how we position ourselves. We can be complementary too, but if you decide that this is enough for you and you want to call this primary care, that's up to you. But we do not prescribe drugs. We will run labs, and we do have licensed clinicians that are able to order some labs so that we can do full assessments and physicals. But again, to Carol's point earlier, this is not a requirement to do something similar. You can definitely open up a consultative practice and do health coaching and help folks live better and healthier lives without ordering labs and without sort of doing a more primary care model. So we're real excited about this. We've gotten a great response, and we'd love to have any of you come to our open house if you're going to be in the area. So before I wrap up here and take questions, we do have future aspirations. You know, we are looking upon the horizon for areas in which we may grow and expand Moolah Corporation into a bigger footprint. So we're currently doing some work around technology enablement. You know, it's in today's world, it's hard to compete in the market if you don't have some technology enablement. And we do have folks with technology backgrounds on our team, so we are working on some innovations in that area. We do have a few private label products for teas. We have private label teas, oils, spice mixes, and some other sort of medicinal herbal-based products. And so we are looking at, you know, potentially expanding that arm of our business as well. Our blueprint in Oklahoma has potential for expansion into other areas. So that's definitely a dot on our map as a potential future aspiration. And then finally, just more integrative partnerships. So we've been approached by several different folks on partnering. What the partnership should look like, you know, I think we have to kind of bounce that against our mission and our vision and make sure that there's alignment there. But there's a lot of opportunity to work in a complementary fashion to GLP weight loss programs, regenerative medicine programs, longevity programs. And so we have been approached, and we're exploring where that takes us. So that is also super exciting. So I'll land on this here at the end. If you're someone that's looking at, you know, doing business with an Ayurvedic offering, you know, I would highly recommend that you sort of couple being purpose driven with commercial motivation, because that is what's going to create sustainability of your idea in the market. You definitely don't want to put your heart and soul into building out a business that's, you know, encapsulates all your passion for this, but then it doesn't work on the business side. So it's almost two different hats. You have to be able to put your business hat on and off. I offer four just tips here that helped me get started at putting this together. The first would be to start with a clear vision. Who are you? What are you going to do? What is your niche? That is super important. Ayurveda is a vast body of knowledge, and we cannot do all things for which it contains. So figure out where your piece is and develop your vision around that. Validate that that idea isn't just a great idea in your mind, but that other people will buy into it. It makes sense. They want it. There's demand before you heavily invest in putting legs on that idea. Not all ideas will resonate with customers, and you want to make sure that you're going to be able to convert that in the market. Don't go at it alone would be the third thing. Definitely, network with your community, do it together if you can. Especially if you're going to have a narrow niche, you can partner with other folks who have other narrow niches, and then when you put it together, it's a more comprehensive way of approaching it. But I have found that the network and having that support around the concept and around the business is super, super important to scale and to spread the word. And then the final would just be about sort of fiduciary responsibility. It's an investment. You do have to, kind of put some money out there to get your legs on your business, but spend it where it matters. And just track that closely. So start off with a budget and know where you're going to invest. Sometimes marketing is an area where folks invest a lot in, but they do that before they have a clearly defined niche. And so you end up wasting some of your investment if you don't do this in a logical and sort of methodical way where you're putting all this out. So those are four tips, but if you kind of take the first one, I did put a little bit of an exercise here, and feel free to take a screenshot on this because this is what's going to produce your ingredients for marketing and sales. This is what's going to give you the talking points for what to post on social media, how to put your marketing assets together, what to say to people when they ask what you do. So the first is defining your vision and your niche. I spoke about that earlier. Once you define that, then you need to define the customer that wants to purchase that niche. And so that can take a little bit of time. Defining your customer. So if I'm saying I'm going to service all the adults in Fort Worth, Texas, that's probably not narrow enough. It's why we say we're going to service burnt out, service-oriented professionals that have employment in an executive seat at organizations in this particular zip code. So you kind of have to get a little bit nuanced in defining who your customers are, so you know who to target with your message, and you can start to understand the things that they deal with in their day-to-day. After you do those two things, you can kind of set that aside for a second and then identify who your competitors are. So who else is out there trying to do the same thing or a similar thing and sell it to the same customers? You need to know who all those people are. You may not find a lot of folks selling Ayurvedic care or Ayurvedic medicine, but you might find wellness, you might find disease prevention, you might find other folks that are doing something similar, but they're targeting your very same customer. You need to know who those folks are. And then once you get those three things done, then I'll challenge you to identify 3 to 5 things that make you and your business unique and different. Write those out in a very explicit way, and then remove your name from those differentiator statements. So if I were to say, Mula offers rejuvenation within 3 hours of Fort Worth, Texas, at a low cost that's curated to a burnt out professional, if that's my differentiator statement, I can take Mula's name out of that statement and put one of my competitors' names into that statement, and then determine whether that statement is still true. If that statement is true for a competitor, then it is not a differentiator for me. And that's how you develop a really good differentiator. If it sticks when you put someone else's brand in the statement, then it doesn't work. You have to redo it. This cycle can take a few months to really get crisp and hone in on. But once you do it, then you'll have this little blueprint and it'll give you all the talking points you need for your elevator pitch or your marketing message, and to describe what you do, why it's important, who it serves, why it's different, and who you're competing against. So a little bit of a tips and tricks there, just lessons that I learned. I wanted to pass that on to you. And I would love for you all to engage with us. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn, and this is our information. We tell folks, are you ready to get to the moolah? Are you ready to get to the root? And if you are, we'd love to engage with you. And that, I think, wraps me up. So I'm going to stop sharing and see if there's any questions.
Julie Harrison has a question. She wanted to know how many people are on your team. And you can tell her the brief answer, but it is on the website, on her website, and each of the bios of everybody working on her team. But how many are there, Trish?
We're growing as we speak. So I'm currently hiring right now for nurses, medical assistants. We've just hired a nurse practitioner and a pharmacist. We have a technology and business enablement lead. So you asked me today, the answer will be different next week, but we started small and we're growing slowly over time. We do have an advisory board that has helped us sort of think through things here in the beginning. And we're growing. So right now it's a small team of less than 10, and we'll see where that takes us.
I have a question myself. Where did you start? Did you actually start just by seeing clients one-on-one, or did you start with a retreat, or did you jump right into the group, the business
Yeah.
idea? I mean, where,
I,
because these, I'm sure other people might want to know that. How
yeah.
small did you start? Because you've done a lot in 5 years.
I started with the retreats, believe it or not. So, and that was, I started with the retreats because that's what I was looking for. This is while I was still in a corporate role and I
Mhm.
felt burnt out. I felt like I needed a break. And I was searching for that place, that sort of oasis to escape to, and thought, I think other people would like to do this too. So that's where we started. So now I call that the back door. And now I'm moving into sort of building out the front door.
And the retreats are a great idea. I went to a retreat here in this area, and what this young lady did, she was oh, she taught yoga to children. So what she did is she found that there's like rec centers, every park usually has a building that's not used 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. She found a building that was large enough to run a retreat where she could rent it for a minimal amount. And then she collected a bunch of professionals like me who wanted to
Mm.
promote my own business and said, "Hey, would you like to come in and teach, yoga to this group? I'm teaching the children's yoga. Would you like to teach the adult yoga and hand out your business cards in the process?" So she wasn't paying me. I was getting clients from that. So it kept her costs down low, but she collected, it was amazing. Oh, she had someone
Yeah.
doing food, doing yoga, doing aroma, doing, sound therapy. I mean, and she just had, and everybody had paid something like, $200 to come on a Saturday and Sunday. So it
Mm.
was a pretty good deal. And she was just networking with other people. And so anyway, keep that in mind. Check out if you're in an area where there is a rec center, a building that's standing, where no one's using it. Find out what it would be to rent that place just to do even a 1 day detox. And, the digital detox is so appealing nowadays. Uh,
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know about you. I just had to
Sometimes
put my
so
phone on my lap because it was buzzing in the background, and I didn't want to have it buzzing on the
yeah, I
thing.
mean we're addicted to those things, and YMCA's, community centers, libraries, a lot of those sort of community resources have space that is rarely used, and so starting small is just fine. Just book one of those places out and do an educational workshop for your community. Start building some relationships, giving people hope, and that seed will grow. That planting that positivity and that hope into people can grow into something really beautiful.
It will definitely grow. It was growing for me before I moved on into the I'm where I want to be today. So I did close down my private practice, but it's because I'm truly addicted to education and using technology in education. So this is kind of where I wanted to be all my life, what I'm doing today with MIU. But my own practice was growing little by little, but it's fun the networking's the way to go. So,
Hmm.
anybody else have any questions? Beautiful presentation, Trisha. You just laid it out so well for everybody, and hopefully everybody who watched today got hope in what they can do after they graduate and where they might go. And if you're in the area near Trisha and you want to go to one of her
Yeah.
retreats, your retreat looks amazing. So,
Yeah, I agree.
Dr.
That
Keith,
was
you ready
just,
to go for one of those retreats?
I am. I love that. I thought it was a great presentation. I think Tricia is one of the great valuable assets for our whole program. She combines that love of healthcare with a really sound business background. She's a wonderful writer. She does so many different things. And I've been trying to get her together with Carol for a million years now. And now these two are never going to be apart. I can tell that right away. They have so much in,
You may regret this, Dr.
I
Keith.
know, I know. They have so much in background, but I think, the thing for me that's so important is we need some beta testing. I mean, we really need people like Trisha to show us the way because we have all these graduates, but we don't really have enough programs out there to help people. So that's what Carol and I are really focused on is really using something like Trisha's program to help all of you to start your own practice. And Trisha is so kind and so knowledgeable. We really, really thank you for doing this for us, Trisha.
And
Yeah.
the
Well,
interesting
thank
thing is
you.
that, Trisha's not afraid of having the competition come out there because the market is so broad for what we do. We could all have businesses like Trisha and still not satisfy the need. And so,
Right.
so the fact that you've shared so beautifully and, you're not, plus I always used to say that there's only one of me. So there really is no
Yeah.
competition because nobody's going to do it exactly like I've done it in anything that I do. There's only one. So I'm not worried about the competition. Networking is where it's at. You're going to learn something from everybody you network with, and that's what Dr. Wallace and I are hoping. That's the foundation of ayurvedapartner.com to get everybody networked and to try to get everybody together. We were talking about this before the meeting. The master's degree that we teach, it's a 1 year degree and it's spread over 3 years. And those of you that have been a student in that program or are currently a student, it's already jam-packed full of Ayurveda and integrative medicine. There really isn't any place for us to start adding in the business skills and what to do after you graduate without detracting from the knowledge that you need, which is Ayurveda and integrative medicine. So we're trying to fill that gap as much as we can. We're here to support you and help you every step of the way. And hopefully, we'll have more talks and meetings like this and bite-sized steps on how you can progress. But everybody should start thinking about maybe doing a retreat where bring someone in. If you're in a non-health freedom state, bring someone in who can do those medical consults. Find a doctor who's willing to partner with you if it's possible, or a nurse practitioner. They're licensed to do that, and network. That's where it's about. So the one doctor I worked with here in Maryland and Delaware was amazing. He and his wife were both from India, but they were trained in the U.S. for their medical degrees. But they realized this need so much that they would teach yoga in their office during closed hours. They had their entire team doing different aspects of health so that they wouldn't have to prescribe so many medications. And then they had clients who really couldn't take any more medications. So, they might have chair yoga going on a couple nights a week, or they might have had a meditation group. They had all kinds of things, cooking classes, and it was a practice that was bursting at the seams. And so they were happy to work with me because they couldn't take, on more than what they were already doing. And so, but I said, like Trisha said, there was no effort in that. I just felt like it was the right place at the right time and the right people. But it was all due to networking, all due to networking. So, okay.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions before we close? No? Fantastic presentation, Trisha. Loved every minute
Yeah.
of it. So thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Honored to be here. And I invite any of you to reach out and connect with me and continue the conversation. So appreciate the engagement and attention this morning, this evening, wherever you're at. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend.
Much love to you, Trisha. Thank you.
All right.
And to all
All
of
right.
you. So we'll see you at the next one next month. We've figured
Thanks
out
for
who we're having business with.
everybody for coming. Bye.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Bye.